Welcome to Simpact Live. I'm your host, Jeff Matthews, and today we talk to Matt Branley, who is a Sustainability and Efficiency Strategic Advisor with Orbit Strategies. Matthew has been working with manufacturers in Queensland to make better use of the Queensland Government's Manufacturing Energy Efficiency Grant. Welcome, Matthew. Welcome, Matt. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Glad to be with you and hope we share some wonderful ideas.
Yes. Now, Matt, you've been working with some Queensland manufacturers to try and make best use of this Queensland Government Manufacturing Energy Efficiency Grant. Can you tell us a bit about the grant and how it operates?
Yes, Jeff. Small business and medium-sized businesses who I, generally speaking, work with always struggle with finding money to fund their energy efficiency, carbon reduction initiatives. They're well-intentioned, but capital is often tight in business these days. So the Queensland Government, for the second time, has opened up a grant specifically for the manufacturing industry, but particularly focused on small businesses. So those between 5 and 200 employees with operations in Queensland, to give them a leg up, to get up to $50,000 of capital to put towards what they broadly define as energy efficiency, technologies, system improvements and the like.
And I could sort of hear the groans from people already, but is it a difficult thing to apply for? Is there much of a hurdle to get over?
In honesty, yes, there is a hurdle, but no, it's not impossible. So with a bit of effort, which of course is where I come in, we get our clients into the projects, into the programs without too much pain or stress on their side. There's a bit of paperwork, there's a lot of compliant processes we've got to follow because it is a very due diligence processed grant to the government's credit, but it's not that difficult compared to many grants, and it's very achievable, which I guess is the bottom line.
Right, and look, these grants, it's always good to get advisors on or consultants like yourself, because you've got a set of skills and expertise which not many people have in-house anyway.
And I was with a client this morning who has a metal fabrication business, very busy fellow, and he said, you know, if he has to spend too much time doing these sorts of jobs, they'll never get done. So yes, they're doable, and that's what people like us can help clients with.
Yes, because small, medium enterprise in New Zealand and Australia, we run very lean. We don't have a lot of fat in management. You know, if we're going to spend $1, we spend $1 doing something, not planning to do it. And so, yeah. Now, tell me, in terms of the companies you're seeing coming through, and tell me, have you had any wins or successes on this with this energy efficiency and what you do? Give us a little bit more clarity on how you can help people.
Yeah, in a broader level, my background is economics and finance. I'm not typically the guy you'd think could be talking about energy efficiency, but I began doing efficiency consulting about 15 years ago. And along that journey, discovered energy as a cost center, whereas 15 years ago, it really wasn't much of a problem. But I began to research energy as a commodity because my client base, that medium to small business enterprise, as you alluded to, they're busy on the tools. Energy is an input like water. And 10 years ago, it really wasn't a big issue. But I began to look at it as a cost center and learned all about energy efficiency strategies from the client side, because the CEOs and the business owners are very busy surviving or growing their businesses, and inputs like energy, they don't have much skill around. So I've developed my skills to help typically CEOs and business owners get around energy efficiency as a concept, because it's very new to them. And it's a lot more than just buying solar or turning off your air conditioning. And that's sort of where people like I come to the table to help our clients unravel what's possible, and then, of course, try and get funding to help them achieve it.
Yes. Yeah, look, energy efficiency is really, really important going forward. I was actually just on an earlier podcast this afternoon talking to a company in South Australia that do energy monitoring and look at electric pollution. And there's just so much energy being wasted, you wouldn't even know is leaking out of your machines. But the IEA, the International Energy Agency, say that they've built in their modelling for 2050, they've built in a 50% increase in energy efficiency. That is they're predicting we will need 3 to 5 times the amount of electricity we generate globally today to pay for all to use for electrification. But if we don't get 50% energy efficiency, we're going to need 6 to 10 times what we generate today. And if you think about decarbonising the world's power system now, and you think about how big a mountain that is, we might have to decarbonise a power system that's 10 times bigger. So energy efficiencies, and I'm really pleased to see the Queensland government's, doing this. But when fossil fuels were cheap, fossil fuel energy was cheap, people didn't worry about it so much. But
it was a very static line item, probably 1% of cost.
Yes, but saving 5%, 10%. I was talking to somebody 15% energy efficiency is huge amount of dollars now.
It's a big deal. I've got major hospitals and major clients who are big users. Their energy costs went up almost 300% this year.
Yes.
And so guess what? Now at those levels, it's a big deal. And just going back to your point about energy monitoring, which we do a lot with, there's a saying in that space that about 40% of energy on average is wasted across all businesses,
yes.
Which is very scary. It's a scary prospect, but it's a positive one because the harder we look, the more we'll find it.
Yes.
And
yes,
wasted
totally
energy is very cheap to find.
That's why the IEA's 50% figure doesn't scare me so much.
No.
Because it's not like the system's running lean anyway. There's some really easy wins. And sometimes it takes an outsider or a consultant like you to come in and just have a look at the process to even, without even investigating anything, just looking at the process to go, well, is that really the best way we're doing things? Why have you done it we've done it like that for 30 years?
I haven't had time to think about it. I have a very simple analogy of a very small client that runs a bakery. Family bakery, had it in the business family for 40 years. Bakers always start at 2 a.m. Traditionally. They changed their business model thanks to COVID to starting at 6 a.m. running through till 3 p.m. And that, of course, suited the solar profile. So they went from being a very difficult profile to deal with. They made some changes, which you and I would say common sense. And the bakers are happy, the globe's happy, and the customer's very happy because they're now far more sustainable. And a lot of it's about changing habits.
Yeah. Yes, changing habits. And
which is the outside of you.
Yeah. And tell us, just to give people hope out here, have you got any more, wins situation that, but that you've got wins for your clients that you like to talk about?
Well, so the energy efficiency, the simple wins for us are energy contract negotiation. So we do a lot of work around smart procurement, which is even buying energy or signing up an energy deal. It's really not as simple as picking up the phone and just getting deals like if you're doing a car insurance deal, because energy as a commodity is very complicated, and most people don't really understand it, and the retailers, the energy retailers, don't really make it easy for us. So we do a lot around smart procurement, which is a direct cost benefit in terms of better procurement. Then we look at wastage, which is a simple one. People running their air conditioners at too low a temperature. The number of manufacturers I walk into with staff rooms, the old staff kitchen.
Yes.
Every workplace has one. They've probably got a big split system in them because factories aren't air conditioned, but the staff rooms are. Yeah. And you walk in, there'll be signs on the doors, on the control panel for the air conditioning saying, do not touch, big X's. It's been ripped off and the AC sitting at 15 degrees. Yeah. Well, every 1 degree of air conditioning temperature equates to 10% energy cost.
Yeah.
So just using some tech to get back control of your air conditioning temperature control, which is not expensive. It's just a little bit of management and a little bit of tech. Will save you a lot just with air conditioning costs. And one common area I find with all manufacturers who sometimes struggle to think about obvious areas of efficiency in terms of equipment upgrades, if they haven't been thinking about it before, it's the old forklifts. I was with a client this morning and they ran 6-ton diesel forklift, which is a big beast. It looks like a tractor, and an LPG forklift. Well, guess which one's the most expensive to run? It's the LPG forklift. So there's a very simple electrification strategy around forklifts. Not very sexy, but very simple and very practical.
Yes. Yeah. No, and what about does this grant help people pay for um, fossil fuel replacement, like somebody's burning diesel or gas to heat or generate something, and they can swap that to electricity? That's the type of thing that grant can be useful.
Yeah, the government released some targeted areas as suggestions for us, and
Yeah,
one of them was electrification in general. So anything going from non-electric to electric, they're in favour of.
yeah,
So the answer is a big yes. And so when I'm looking at businesses, that is where what we talk about. What have you got that's running on other sources of energy apart from electricity?
yeah,
And all those issues around heat capture, heat pumps, all that electrification story, gas to electricity, it's right open for discussion. And
yeah,
effectively, the grant's a $50,000 contribution to whatever the capex is on that bit of equipment upgrade.
yeah,
It will fund. I've got clients looking at 3D printers that will take the place of traditional manual fabrication,
yeah,
which is electric and compressor based. And so that's
yes,
quite a big leap. That's a change of manufacture into some new tech, meaning 3D printing.
yeah,
But they're also supporting new ways of manufacturing, so innovative manufacturing as well,
yeah,
because normally the innovation in manufacturing happens to be more efficient as a byproduct of the innovation. One client makes valves for steam orientated businesses like laundries.
yes,
They bought a laser cutting machine that did a job in about 1/10 of the time of the traditional equipment. So 1/10 of the labour and
yeah,
probably 5% of the energy.
right,
So a massive comparison. So it's
yes.
quite exciting when you see clients go from a piece of equipment the size of a locomotive engine to some
Yes,
size of a suitcase.
yes, and we've been making steam valves for 135 years,
Mm.
and they've probably been in business for such a while that there's modern technology. Now, look, just coming back to the grants, because I know some people, if they're listening, will be asking, are the grants are they a dollar for dollar thing, or is it just up to do you have to have,
Percentage.
does your project have to be much bigger than 50,000, and is it per company or per project?
Typically per company based in Queensland. So the grants for Queensland based businesses with up to
Yeah,
200 employees on a site, the grant is
yeah,
100% for lighting upgrades up to
yeah.
$50,000. So if you spend $50,000, they'll reimburse $50,000 for lighting.
Wow.
If it's, which is exciting. Now, a lot of businesses have converted to LED by now, but if you haven't, it's
Yeah,
the perfect chance.
yeah,
For non-LED equipment upgrades, so all the other things we can think of, from forklifts to machinery to whatever energy monitoring systems, whatever we come up with,
yeah.
it's up to 50,000, 75%, up to a maximum of $50,000. They'll rebate. So if you
Right.
spend
So
$6,000, you'll
yeah,
get $50,000 back. If the project's $100,000, we claim the 75% up to $50,000 as a maximum.
right.
So
Okay.
treat it like a rebate or a discount on point of sale.
But 100% on lighting and 75% on something else. That's a big chunk.
Yeah, it's a pretty good discount if you're negotiating a purchase.
And look, some of these processes need that by government. And one of the reasons is that diesel and it's like diesel engines that we've been making them for 125 years. We've had 125 years of efficiency behind them. So they're the cheapest things that you can ever use,
And
or
they're
a
still
diesel
working.
generator. And so we're replacing it with new technology. Look, electric motors and electric things. If we have 125 years of advancement, they're going to be ridiculously cheap in the end. So
Yeah.
it does need in these early days. It does need a bit of a push from government. Government's got an important role to play.
And I think that's why this is the second year they've done it.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll share with you, Jeff, is that the government's particularly keen on food manufacturing and
Right.
steel fabrication, steel industry.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why
Yeah.
they've
Well,
been keen on those.
food's huge, really interesting stuff. In Simpac, we're looking at biochar and how what we do with all the organic waste and stuff like that, and putting it back into the soils and generating electricity from it. There's a whole industry about reusing bio stuff,
food waste.
but it's a huge sector in Queensland, huge driver
and it's a
of
big
economic.
employer. obviously, across
Yes,
all business.
and because it's an old industry, it's
Mm.
full of old machinery as well, and and a lot of those. The other thing about emissions is a lot of those diesel generators or petrol generators or petrol machines, they don't have any catalytic converters on them. So what they're putting into the environment is incredibly bad. It's like 50 times worse than a car,
Mm.
So
Mm.
so those things can easily be electrified as well. So
Which
yeah, it's
explains the
good, good.
government's, I guess, support for it.
Yes, yes, no, it's good stuff. And the uptake, I mean, I would imagine in the small, medium businesses, as you said, they're running so fast to keep up with today that, you know, that they're not going to go out and, do this by themselves without a decent push or, somebody like you knocking on their door. How have you found that sort of uptake or incentive?
Yeah, about 100%. So to be
Yeah,
honest, once I talk to the business owner, now that's the challenge.
yeah,
They've got to have the time to pick up the phone. Most of them do when they know why you're calling. But
yeah,
once they hear the message that there's $50,000 on the table to upgrade or replace some older equipment, which they know is
yeah,
a good thing. The energy efficiency is a bonus, to be
yeah,
blunt. Um,
yeah,
and I've not spoken to one manufacturer where we couldn't find something to do that's got an energy uplift, an energy bonus,
yeah,
from forklifts to mixing machines for food and chemicals to, to forklifts for other businesses. There's no opportunity for equipment upgrades.
yeah,
So yeah, the answer is very, very positive, and particularly when I say to them, I just need them to identify what sort of equipment they should be targeting to upgrade, because we need one or ideally three quotes, and then we compare the energy use of the new equipment with the old equipment. But they've
yeah,
got to get the initial quotes from the equipment manufacturers, because clearly they know where to go for that. And
yeah,
then I work with them to get the data I need to build the grant application. I will share this. It probably took me a fair bit of a day to look through the grant materials and the portal that's on the government websites to understand what they want and how to go about it.
yeah.
So the average client, just to answer your point, to even read those websites and what's involved, they really wouldn't get past, it's a good idea, I'll deal with it next month,
Yes.
because there is too much involved in the process for a busy business owner to do themselves.
Yeah, and it's not the sort of thing to give to a lower level administration staff person to try and make their way through if they've never done it before.
It doesn't
It's
make any sense. I mean, I'm
yeah,
good around grants, and it took me a bit to understand what they were asking for, but
yeah,
I'll give you an example. We need to
yeah,
do an energy cost analysis between the equipment, like a pros and cons.
yeah,
But then they've got to have a sustainability plan.
yeah,
Now, how many small businesses do you know have got a sustainability plan already written?
yeah.
The answer, not many. But we've
Not
got to
many.
write one for these grants. So
And yeah, and look, those sustainability plans, they're going to become a thing. And what it is with these tier one companies having to report, and it boils down very quickly. If you're supplying to them, it's like GST. One
yep,
person in the chain pays, everyone has to pay. And
correct.
that's what this reporting is going to do. It's going to make you. I had the City of Gold Coast bought some tickets to Simpac in Brisbane, and I had to put an invoice, and they sent me a request to ask for my sustainability, my carbon footprint, my anti-slavery policies. So and that was to sell a few tickets to come to Simpac. If you're wanting to supply to these or export to Europe or New Zealand even, you're going to have them. And
It's
it's coming like a train. So,
mm.
you know, having the government give you up to $50,000 to put one in place to get some money is probably a good a time as any to start.
But you can imagine the average business owner trying to work out what to do about that.
Yes.
And there's only $6 million available in the grant,
Yeah.
which is open in August. It technically closes June next year,
Yeah.
but it's on a first in basis. So I'm
Right.
busily encouraging clients
So
to get active, get involved, and get something lodged.
right. And so on that note, look, I'll put your website on the end of this, and it's under beginning. People should get in touch with you or somebody
By all
like you,
means.
and get into it quick, because these things once it gets out and once it starts rolling, it'll go quick. And there's a deadline and there's a bit of competition out there. So, one of the things you've got to think of is your competitors getting free machinery and you're not. That puts you double behind the 8 ball.
Correct. And the other thing I encourage them to do is it gets them into the habit of getting ready for these sorts of grants, because there will be more grants like this come down the track.
Yes.
But you've got to be grant ready, a bit like being fit ready to play sport.
Yes.
Writing grants and being prepared, it's a bit of a corporate preparation piece. So
Yes.
I expect we'll have pretty high success rates with this particular grant. But
Yeah.
even if you don't, the preparation for the process, it can still be recycled the next grant that comes through in 6 months' time. So
Yes.
it's a good investment of time and
Yes.
effort, even though people like myself do really all the heavy lifting.
Yeah. Wonderful. Been great talking to you. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I learned
Thanks
a
for
bit,
having me, Jeff.
and it was great having a chat.
Excellent. Look forward to talking to you.